Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Chris McKenzie. I am a board certified physical therapist in sports and orthopedics. I am also a performance enhancement specialist through the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and I am a adjunct professor at Drexel University. Um, Chris Kurtz asked me to come up here and speak to you guys. I apologize that I couldn't be there in person. I'm currently in Nashville. But Chris wanted me to just give you guys a brief chat about what we do over at CK Performance. So Chris asked me to perform evaluations or examinations on all of his athletes before he designs a strength training program. And the purpose of that is for me to find any kind of weaknesses that the athlete may have. And this just pertains to the physical body. And the purpose of finding a weakness is that these weaknesses, if left untreated or not properly, if they're not properly managed, they can manifest themselves as a injury. And all of these injuries that we've been seeing in these last couple of years, the increase in strains at the UCL or torn UCL, rotator cuff problems, overuse injuries, all of that stuff can be managed before it ever happens. So that's why Chris wanted me to come in and give a thorough examination or a evaluation, because it really helps drive what we should be doing with the athlete. And it's kind of analogous to I would imagine that a lot of you guys have children in school, or you have had children in school at one point. If they're getting A's on all of their classes except for one, and if you wanted to bring that one class, say that grade that they were doing, or that class that they were doing poorly in was a C, and they just kept the same routine up, over the years they'd constantly get A's, or over the course of a year they'd constantly get A's in that on all those other subjects except for that one, and it's because they're not putting in the effort to bring that score up. So, and the purpose of an evaluation is obviously to find those areas that we need to work on. So, why do we need proper strength and conditioning programs? Well, check out some of these blog posts and comments from some popular books that will show us why. So, this is from a book called High Performance Sports Conditioning, and outlined in blue here it says, baseball has long been known as America's pastime. The game is rich in tradition, and when it comes to sport-specific strength and conditioning, rife with myth. So it's full of myth. Here's another one, outlined in blue here, or highlighted in blue. Do you have any thoughts on the vast uneducation in regards to the physical preparation even at the highest levels of the game? I've seen strength coaches at the highest level in the major league, and most of them have not a clue what they are doing. They just assign a bunch of stuff, and you'll see this everywhere. That goes from like mindless conditioning to just overdoing strengths and not really being able to pick out the weaknesses and work on that. Outlined in red and highlighted in blue, I think it's a shame what college coaches subject their players to. In baseball, with pitchers just mindless conditioning and overdoing rotator cuff stuff, usually the wrong way. It seems okay to them because it's what they've done, and it's what they even do in the big leagues. One more here for you. If you look at any baseball strength training conditioning program, you will find glaring mistakes that will lead to decreased performance and increased chance of injury. To those coaches who know what the heck they are doing, these mistakes stick out like a sore thumb. The problem is that 99% of coaches out there do not understand this, yet they continue to do damage on our young ball players, robbing them of their athletic ability. So this is the kind of mindset that we are up against. There's so much of misinformation out there and poor training. It leads to injury. So my job is to come in and do a examination, and my examination grossly looks like this. So I do a standing exam. I look for postural cues that might lead me to think that some muscles are tight, some muscles are a little bit weak, some muscles are a little bit over lengthened. I do a balance and stability exam for the lower extremities. I look at the athlete's squat, and I look at them squat with 2 legs, and I look at them squat with 1 leg. And what they look at are different, uh, two very different things. I look at spinal range of motion and joint mobility there, and that also includes the SI joint. The SI joint is part of your hips and your pelvis, which is actually a common issue with pitchers. I look at hip internal and external range of motion. We know that there's specific range of motion that needs to be achieved at the hips in order to, maintain velocity when you're throwing, or to maintain the proper power or the proper movement for squatting or power exercises that you would perform in the gym, which correlate to on-field performance. Lower extremity muscle strength exam, a lower extremity muscle length exam, which includes looking at the quadriceps, the hamstrings, the IT band, the calves, and the hip flexors. And in the upper extremity, I pretty much look at a lot of the same stuff. I look at the upper extremity muscle length exam, which includes the lats, the internal and external rotators at the shoulders, the pecs. I look and see how the scapulas move. A lot of times there's a lot of dysfunction at the scapula that causes problems at the shoulder and elbow. So if we correct that, we correct everything else down the chain. Looking at upper extremity muscle strength exam, especially for a posterior dominant shoulder. We want to have the posterior or the external rotators at the shoulder be as strong as they can. We want to have them be about 75% of the internal rotation strength. Going to look at internal and external range of motion, or a GERD exam at the shoulder. I'm also going to be looking at laxity or joint hypomobility at the shoulder, and I'm also going to be looking at elbow range of motion and some laxity at the elbow as well, which can contribute to medial elbow problems. So that's pretty much the gist of what I look at. I am looking for weaknesses, and pretty much they can be lumped into either muscle weakness, either joint instability or joint hypomobility, muscular tightness, or poor neuromuscular control or stability. So, and then when, not if, but when I find weaknesses, they are marked on my form and given to Chris to design a complete program designed to address these weaknesses. Now, we need to address their weaknesses as a whole part of their body, and then we can focus on their strengths, meaning we can focus on the individual player's strengths for their position. They're stronger at a pitcher, they should be a pitcher. Stronger at an outfielder, whatever. That's when we should focus on the strengths after we've made them a complete, sound, physical presence. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be back in the area around the new year. So I'm going to give it back to Chris Kurtz, and you guys enjoy the rest of your afternoon and your weekend.